Silence has returned. You're now going to take your blade out and you're going to get rid of your machine. Use your scraper and scrape all that lovely mixture down the bottom. I'm going to add some vanilla essence in at this stage. If you're using the little bottle, probably 1 to 2 capfuls. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon, which is roughly that. I could have added it in right at the beginning, but I forgot. As long as it's in, it doesn't matter. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add in the flour. You can sieve this. You can put this, get a sieve really high, and you can sieve this in. I'm not going to bother. If you want to do it properly, go for it. What you don't want to do though is knock out all of the lovely air that you have put in with your mechanical aeration, because there's several ways that you can add air into a mixture. Mechanical, which is using the machine. You can use chemical, which is using the baking powder, and you've got baking powder in your self-raising flour. You can use egg, and you can add air in this way as well, with a thing. But what I want you to do is just to stir this mixture in. So you're going to fold it. And what I so often see is people using the machine and beating 7 bells out of it. That is not adding any more air in. What you're actually doing is toughening up the mixture, because all flour contains gluten, unless you use gluten-free flour. And what you're going to do is you will actually physically toughen that up and tighten it. So what we're doing is we're literally just folding it in until you can't see any more flour. And at this stage, you can make a decision whether you add in any liquid, any milk or anything else like that. So that's just about incorporated. You see that? Because I've used block margarine, I am going to add in some milk. If I was using tub margarine, I wouldn't bother. But because I've used the block, or if you use butter, you will definitely need to add a bit of milk in. Now, you can do it as a tablespoon or 2. I'm just going to pour in a little bit, just to give it a little bit of more moistness, and give that another gentle stir in. So don't be standing there getting your Mr. Muscle going. Just give it a nice gentle stir in. Perfect. So I'm going to add in a tiny little bit more, not a huge amount. This is probably taking about 2 tablespoons, but different amount of mixtures will give you different amount of milk that you need to add in. What I want to do is I want to show you the texture, the consistency that you're looking for, so that you know what to look for. Okay. What you're looking is when you do this, it dollops. Hear that? Oh. That is such a fabulous sound. Okay. Now, I have got some cupcake cases, because I do want to show you the other cake as well. I've got the good old-fashioned ice cream scoop. If you haven't got one of these, just use a spoon. Doesn't matter, but I know that my portions will be accurate when I put these in. And I want all my cakes the same size. And that's going to go into my oven. And then my tin, which is here. Scrape all that lovely goodness out. Ugh. I forgot to say that when I turned off the camera after I started mixing it with my machine, it actually went everywhere. You can't see it, but I have got cake mix all up my walls, all over. It was all over me. So I'm really glad that you didn't get to see it. You would have appreciated it, but I wouldn't. So chuck all this in. I prefer to cook my cakes in shallower levels. So what I do is my first knuckle test. I don't want to cook anything deeper for sponge cakes, not for fruit cakes. You want to go as deep as possible for fruit cakes. But for sponge cakes, I like to put my first knuckle into the mixture, and I want, so it's probably about that far, that deep, and no deeper than that. I find that they cook better, I find that they rise better, I find that they taste better because you don't get a claggy bottom, and who wants a claggy bottom? Claggy is wet. If you don't understand what's like, what the hell is she talking about, claggy? Claggy is just really, really wet, and we don't want that. So no claggy bottoms. Get your mixture all the way into your tins. This would do probably 2 7-inch tins, round tins. Possibly an 8 with the, if I hadn't have taken out the other cake mix to use in my cupcakes, it would have done 2 8-inches. So 6 eggs would do you, definitely do you, an 8-inch, 2 8-inch tins. As I said, 2 is better than baking 1 single. This will only take about 30 minutes to cook in the oven. If you did it as a single tin, then it would take an hour, hour 15. So, and it's better, they look nicer when they're together. There we go. So this is going to be popped in. And once this is baked and I've washed my mitts, I will come back to you and I'll see you again soon. Ciao. We have cake. We have a great big fat cake, fresh out of the oven. I have probed it in the centre with a sharp knife just to make sure that it comes out clean, and it does. So you just put your knife in, make sure it comes out clean, well risen, golden brown, and springs back to the touch, and that's what you're looking for. I've also baked my cakes. This took about 35 minutes. These took about 17 to 18, all right? So what I want to do is show you first something that I love. And these are jammy cinnamon donuts as a cake. So a bit of sugar into my bowl. Bit of cinnamon into my bowl. Give it a little mix. Cinnamon sugar. I love cinnamon sugar. Bit more because you can't taste it. Lots of cinnamon sugar. And then I have got a brush with some melted butter, and this is dead simple. Brush the top of your cakes. Spoon a ton of the sugar on top, like that, and then tip it off so that you've got a layer of cinnamon sugar. And then what you do is just use a sharp knife right at the end, as though you were doing a butterfly bun. Pop it off. Spoonful of jam. Ooh, brand new jar, so it's a bit thick. Give it a little mix. Onto the top of your cake. Lid back on top. And they are gorgeous. They're really, really simple, but really, really gorgeous. I love those. So, what I've got next, I got those all out. I'll finish those later because I'll eat them all. Right, my cake. I am going to ice this almost directly out of the oven. So it's been out of the oven now about 10 minutes. You could leave this to go completely cool, or you can do it like I do. I see so many people icing their cake and then putting it in the fridge. There is no point. Icing does not set in a fridge. Chocolate sets in a fridge. Icing sets at room temperature or warm. So the warmer it is, the quicker your icing will set. So putting it in the fridge is a no-no. Don't bother with doing it. It's just, it doesn't work. It's for chocolate and not for icing. So what you're going to do is get it out of your tin. Like this. And we're going to put it onto a serving platter or plate. Smells delicious. Paper off. What we're going to do is we're going to ice this upside down. So you've now got a really lovely flat surface to work on, and it's really soft and smelly. It smells gorgeous. Icing. Bowl. Icing sugar. Tip icing sugar into bowl. If it's lumpy, please sieve it, because you won't get the lumps out if they're really claggy. That word again. Claggy. This is probably about 200 grams of icing sugar. I'm used to doing it, so I know roughly what I'm going to have. And then use your magic. Now, I'm using, as I said earlier, I'm using squash, but you could use milkshake cordial, you know, the mixture mix that you add the milk into. You could use, I had some here earlier, fizzy pop. If you've got a fizzy pop that's got a strong colour like cherryade or raspberryade, it's also fantastic. The bubbles you won't taste, but it just gives it a really lovely colour. So just put a dollop in. Look. It's going to be glorious pink. Ho, ho, ho. Hope you can see that. Oh, getting bounce back again. Turn that light off. No, still getting bounce back. Oh look, there we go. We're getting pink. So it means you don't have to go and get food colouring from the shops, because the chances are that you'll have something in your cupboards. Just think outside the box. And it also gives it a really lovely flavour. So I'm using Vimto, which apparently is berries. So I've got a lovely pink icing, very soft and mellow, bit more icing. You're looking for the consistency of thick toothpaste. If you don't want to add squash or cordial, you can just use plain water, but I love the colour. Get your bingo wings working, and you should have that colour and that sort of consistency. So it's not too thin that it's going to run off, and it will come off very slowly off the spoon. So chuck that all on the top. Let me move my cake up so you can see it better. Oh, dollopy, dollopy. You can use your spoon, you can use your finger, you can use a palette knife, whichever way you do it. Spread it across nice and evenly. Let it run down the sides a little bit. You'll have enough for custard, and I'll show you how to make custard as well. So spread all that across, let it run down very gently off the sides. Move that a little bit more because I want a little bit more there. Just like that. And then the magic, sprinkles. Sprinkle that bad boy. Sprinkle it all over. Let your inner goddess come out, your inner unicorn. Who cares that the boys are going to get in touch with their feminine girly side? Just go for it. Oh yeah. You can never have too many sprinkles or sparkle. And that is what your cake looks like. Delicious. Leave that to go cold now. As I said, don't put it in the fridge. It's not going to work. It will just sit there collecting a bit more moisture, and it will take longer to actually set. Heat and dryness will set your icing, all right? A little tip. So I'm now going to be getting myself ready for the custard. You could use this. You could use an instant packet mix, but I'm going to show you how to do it properly with milk and egg yolks and sugar and a touch of vanilla essence. You're supposed to use corn flour, but I cannot find the big bag that I've got in my house. So I'm going to use plain flour, which you can substitute. If you are gluten free, I definitely recommend that you use the corn flour. It's not going to be as yellow and bright, but it'll be absolutely beautiful. So, school cake, gotta have custard. Come back for the custard.